People will smile at you, clap for you, even say they've got your back. But the truth? Most are here for what you can give them, not for who you are. Loyalty is rare. Words are cheap. Watch actions. Protect your heart, your plans, your weaknesses. Trust slowly, test deeply. Remember, when the lights go out, you'll see who's still standing beside you. Trust is not something you hand out freely to anyone who offers a warm smile or kind words. It's a currency of the soul, a rare and valuable resource that should be given with precision and discernment. Too many people rush into relationships, whether friendships, partnerships, or professional connections, believing that goodwill and positivity alone are enough to guarantee loyalty. They overlook the fact that human nature is layered and complex, filled with hidden motives, shifting priorities, and self-interest. When you understand that trust is earned, not given, you stop placing your emotional safety into the hands of people who have not proven they can hold it. Earning trust requires consistency over time, not a few good moments. Anyone can behave kindly for a day, show support during a convenient situation, or speak well of you when it benefits them. But the real measure comes in the quiet, unglamorous moments, when no one is watching, when there is nothing to gain, when loyalty would cost them something. This is when true character is revealed. If you give your trust before someone has shown how they act in those moments, you risk building your security on unstable ground. The reality is, trust is not built through words. It's built through patterns. People's actions, choices, and behaviors over weeks, months, and even years are what allow you to truly know who they are. Too often, we mistake charm for integrity, friendliness for reliability, and charisma for loyalty. These illusions crumble quickly when tested, leaving you hurt, betrayed, and wondering why you didn't see the signs sooner. Trusting too quickly is like opening the doors of your home to a stranger because they smiled at you in the street. There's also the dangerous assumption that shared experiences automatically equal trustworthiness. Just because someone has been around you for a long time or has gone through certain situations with you doesn't mean they have earned the right to know the deepest parts of you. Longevity does not always equal loyalty. There are people who can walk beside you for years while secretly prioritizing their own needs above yours, or keeping their allegiance only as long as it serves their interests. This is why discernment is essential. You must learn to separate proximity from proven loyalty. Trust should be treated like a vault combination that only a select few ever learn. Before you give someone access to that vault, you need to see how they behave under stress, how they handle other people's secrets, and whether their values align with their words. Watch how they treat people who can do nothing for them. Pay attention to whether they stand up for you when you're not in the room, or whether they join the crowd in silence. Every interaction is a piece of evidence, and every piece matters. People often confuse suspicion with wisdom. Being careful with trust does not mean you live in paranoia or isolate yourself completely. It means you understand the cost of betrayal and choose not to gamble with your peace of mind. It means you recognize that your emotional safety is your responsibility and that giving trust too easily can be an act of self-neglect. The people who deserve your trust will never rush you into giving it. They will be patient because they know it's something sacred that must be built, not demanded. The truth is, genuine trust cannot be manufactured or manipulated. It develops naturally through consistency, honesty, and respect. The people worthy of it will never fear being tested because their loyalty is not conditional or temporary. They will not make you question their intentions, and they will not disappear when circumstances change. This is the standard you must hold, even if it means having a smaller circle. Quality will always matter more than quantity when it comes to trust. Promises are easy to make because they cost nothing in the moment. Words can be crafted to sound sincere, reassuring, and full of commitment, yet they carry no weight until they are supported by action. Many people speak with confidence and certainty when they tell you they will be there for you, help you, or stand by your side. But life has a way of revealing the difference between intention and execution. You cannot build your sense of security on verbal assurances alone, because words without action are nothing more than empty air. When you focus on actions instead of promises, you remove the illusions that charm and persuasive language can create. People can tell you what you want to hear, but their consistent behavior will tell you the truth. Someone might claim they will always be honest with you, yet you catch them twisting the truth to protect themselves. They might swear they will show up when you need them, but when the time comes, their excuses arrive before they do. The human mind often clings to what it hears because it feels good in the moment. But if you want clarity, you must look beyond the surface and examine patterns of conduct. A promise is a projection of the future, but actions are proof in the present. Anyone can imagine what they might do for you one day, but it's only through tangible effort that intentions become reality. This is why it is dangerous to measure loyalty, love, or reliability solely by the things people say they will do. The truth is found in the small, consistent acts, how they treat you when no one is watching, whether they follow through without being reminded, and whether they prioritize you when it is inconvenient for them. Actions also reveal what words try to hide. People can disguise motives through speech, painting themselves as supportive, kind, and trustworthy. But consistent behavior has a way of breaking through the mask. For example, someone might say they value honesty, yet you notice they avoid taking responsibility when they make a mistake. They may speak about respect, but interrupt or dismiss you when you share your thoughts. In these moments, the mismatch between their words and their actions becomes a clear warning sign. It is not enough for someone to act in alignment with their promises occasionally. Reliability is built through repetition, not rare exceptions. A person who shows up once in a crisis but fails you in daily matters cannot be called dependable. True trust grows when actions match words again and again across different circumstances over time. You cannot judge loyalty in moments of comfort alone. You must see how they behave when standing with you costs them effort, time, or personal risk. There is also a tendency for people to make promises as a way of managing perception. They may not intend to keep their word, but know that promising earns them approval or trust in the short term. This is why you must be wary of those who overpromise but underdeliver. Their energy often lies in convincing you rather than proving themselves. Those who truly mean what they say rarely feel the need to overstate it. They simply let their consistent actions speak for them. When you make a habit of watching actions instead of clinging to promises, you start to notice details others ignore. You notice who follows through without seeking recognition. You see who quietly supports you without using it as leverage. You pay attention to who stays consistent, regardless of who is watching. These subtle observations often tell you more than grand declarations ever could, because actions operate in truth, while promises can live comfortably in fantasy. Relying on actions as your measure of trustworthiness requires patience and observation. You cannot form a full picture in a single week or after one good deed. You must be willing to give time the chance to reveal character. This approach may mean you withhold certain levels of trust until you have enough evidence to support it. But in doing so, you protect yourself from the disappointment of believing in words that were never meant to be honored. Boundaries are not walls to keep everyone out. They are lines that protect your peace, your values, and your well-being. Without them, you allow other people's needs, demands, and opinions to dictate your life, leaving you drained and resentful. Protecting your boundaries fiercely means recognizing your worth and understanding that you are not obligated to give unlimited access to your time, energy, or emotions. It means knowing what you will and will not tolerate, and holding to that standard regardless of how others may react. People often test boundaries, sometimes intentionally, sometimes without realizing it. They might push for more of your time than you can give, pry into personal matters you don't want to discuss, or expect favors without considering your circumstances. If you fail to reinforce your limits in these moments, you teach them that your boundaries are flexible, negotiable, or non-existent. Once someone learns they can cross the line without consequences, they will do it again and again, often taking more than they give. Protecting your boundaries requires clarity within yourself first. You cannot expect others to respect limits you haven't clearly defined. This means taking the time to ask yourself what behaviors you are willing to accept, what situations drain you, and what interactions strengthen you. Once you know these answers, you can communicate them directly, not as a request for permission, but as a statement of how you choose to live. Boundaries are not about controlling other people. They are about controlling what you allow in your space. One of the hardest parts of protecting your boundaries is dealing with people who feel entitled to cross them. Some will react with guilt-tripping, anger, or manipulation, trying to make you feel selfish or unkind for saying no. This is where the word fiercely becomes essential, because holding your boundaries will require strength, especially when you care about the person pushing against them. You must learn to be comfortable with the discomfort of others when that discomfort is simply the result of you protecting yourself. Boundaries also serve as a filter for relationships. The people who truly respect and value you will not be threatened by your limits. They will understand them and adjust accordingly. Those who consistently resist your boundaries are showing you that they prioritize their own comfort over your well-being. It is through these responses that you begin to see who belongs in your inner circle and who does not. There is a misconception that strong boundaries will push people away or make you seem cold. In reality, boundaries create healthier, stronger relationships because they establish mutual respect. When people know where you stand, there is less room for misunderstandings, resentment, or unspoken expectations. Boundaries provide structure, and structure fosters trust. Without them, relationships become tangled with overstepping, taking advantage, and unbalanced giving. Enforcing boundaries is not a one-time event. It's a continuous process. You may have to restate them, especially when dealing with persistent personalities. You may have to take action, stepping back from certain people, limiting interactions, or cutting ties altogether when words alone are not enough. Protecting your boundaries also means protecting them from yourself, because sometimes you will be tempted to lower them in moments of weakness, loneliness, or guilt. Remind yourself that every time you enforce a boundary, you reinforce your own self-respect. Your boundaries are a reflection of how much you value yourself. If you allow them to be repeatedly crossed without consequence, you communicate, both to yourself and to others, that your needs are secondary. This erodes your confidence over time and can leave you feeling powerless. But when you guard them fiercely, you send a clear message: your life, energy, and mental space are not open for misuse. This isn't about being difficult, it's about protecting the foundation that allows you to show up fully, both for yourself and for those who truly deserve your presence. Most loyalty is conditional, though it's easy to believe otherwise when people are kind, supportive, or encouraging in moments that suit them. Conditional loyalty means their commitment to you exists only as long as certain circumstances remain in place. Your success benefits them, your presence is convenient, or your needs don't interfere with theirs. The moment those conditions change, their loyalty may fade, revealing that their support was tied to what they gained, not to who you are. This is a truth many resist accepting because it forces you to see relationships without the comfort of illusions. In everyday life, conditional loyalty often hides behind gestures that appear genuine. Friends will celebrate your wins, but may grow distant when you face setbacks. Colleagues will praise your teamwork until your growth threatens their position. People will stand by you when you align with their goals, but disappear when you take a path that no longer serves them. These shifts can feel sudden, but in reality, the signs were often present long before the break. Subtle hesitations, moments of self-interest, or small acts of disloyalty brushed aside as harmless. Understanding that most loyalty is conditional does not mean you live with suspicion toward everyone. It means you observe patterns without being blinded by moments of convenience. Someone may be loyal when circumstances are easy, but the real test comes during times of difficulty, conflict, or loss. Will they still be there when standing beside you offers them no advantage, or worse, costs them something? The answer to that question often separates true loyalty from situational allegiance. The danger of assuming unconditional loyalty is that it leaves you unprepared for the shift. When someone's support is tied to a condition you can't maintain, such as your financial status, influence, or ability to meet their needs, you risk feeling blindsided when that support evaporates. This is why discernment is crucial. Rather than assuming loyalty is permanent, treat it as something that must be proven in varied conditions, over time, without the influence of personal gain. Conditional loyalty can also be rooted in unspoken transactions. Some people see relationships as exchanges. They give attention, help, or support in return for what you provide, whether it's companionship, resources, or validation. If that exchange becomes unbalanced in their eyes, their commitment may weaken. This is not inherently malicious. It's a reflection of how many people operate. However, it becomes dangerous when you mistake these transactional ties for unwavering loyalty. True loyalty is rare precisely because it is detached from conditions. It comes from those who see you not just as a source of benefit, but as a human being worthy of respect and care, regardless of circumstance. These individuals will not disappear when you fail, lose influence, or can no longer give them what they once received. They value the relationship itself, not just the advantages it brings. Spotting them requires patience, because loyalty reveals itself slowly, in moments where choosing you comes with no personal reward. Recognizing the conditional nature of most loyalty also changes how you give it. You become more mindful of where you invest your emotional energy, and you stop assuming that reciprocity will always match your own standards. It allows you to be generous without being naive, supportive without expecting permanence, and connected without attaching blind faith to every relationship. You learn to appreciate loyalty when it is proven, but you do not depend on it for your stability. By accepting that most loyalty is conditional, you protect yourself from unnecessary disappointment. You stop taking every withdrawal of support as a personal failure, and you begin to see it as part of human nature. People's priorities shift, Their circumstances change, and their capacity to stand beside you often depends on what's happening in their own lives. When you understand this, you stop expecting the impossible from others and focus instead on identifying those rare individuals whose loyalty holds. Steady through all conditions, keeping your secrets to yourself is one of the most powerful acts of self-protection you can practice. Every piece of personal information you share becomes a tool in someone else's hands, a tool they can use with care or wield against you. Even people who seem trustworthy in the present can change when their priorities, emotions, or loyalties shift. What is safe today may not be safe tomorrow, and once something is spoken, it can never be taken back. This is why discretion is not about paranoia, it is about maintaining control over the most private parts of your life. When you reveal too much, you hand over pieces of your inner world to others, trusting they will guard them as you do. But the reality is, not everyone sees your secrets with the same value or responsibility. Some will share them carelessly in casual conversation, not thinking about the damage it might cause you. Others may store that information quietly, waiting for a moment when revealing it serves their interests. This doesn't always come from malice, it can also come from thoughtlessness. But the result is the same, your privacy is compromised. Personal information is a form of power. The less people know about your fears, weaknesses, or private struggles, the less they can manipulate or judge you. Once your vulnerabilities are exposed, you lose a measure of control. People might not act against you immediately, but they now possess an insight into your life that you cannot erase from their memory. This is why even well-meaning conversations require careful boundaries. Not every relationship, no matter how close it feels, warrants full disclosure. Many people confuse intimacy with oversharing, believing that being open about every detail builds trust. In reality, trust is not built by spilling everything. It is built by consistent actions, respect, and reliability. You can have deep, meaningful relationships without giving away every private thought, history, or plan. The parts of your life you keep to yourself remain entirely within your control, untouched by the shifting dynamics of human relationships. It is important to remember that secrets are not always dramatic confessions or hidden scandals. They can be as simple as your future plans, your next move, or the real feelings you have towards certain situations. These are often the details that, when exposed too soon, can be derailed by other people's opinions, interference, or even subtle sabotage. Silence, in this sense, becomes a shield. Not because you fear others, but because you understand the value of moving in privacy. The temptation to share is strongest when emotions are high, whether you are deeply happy, hurt, or seeking comfort. In these moments, you may feel an urge to let someone in completely, believing they will understand and support you without judgment. While there are rare people who will protect your words, the reality is that every time you share, you take a gamble on how that information will be handled in the future. This is why emotional discipline is crucial. You must be able to process your feelings without automatically handing over your personal truths to others. Over time, keeping your secrets to yourself also helps you see people more clearly. When you choose not to share something important and simply observe, you notice who tries to pry, who respects your privacy, and who loses interest when they can't access every detail of your life. This not only protects your information, but also reveals the intentions of those around you. People who truly care for you will respect your choice to keep certain things private. Those who are curious for the sake of gossip will grow frustrated when you do not feed them information. In the end, your secrets form part of your identity and your safety. Once shared, they are no longer yours alone. They become shared property, and you must trust the other person to treat them with the same care you do. That is a level of trust most people do not earn. By keeping the most important parts of your life to yourself, you preserve a sense of autonomy, strength, and control that cannot be taken away by the changing tides of relationships or circumstances. People change when their needs change, and this simple truth explains much of human behavior in relationships. The version of someone you know today is shaped by their current circumstances, desires, and priorities. When those factors shift, so can their actions, attitudes, and loyalties toward you. This is not always out of malice. It's often a reflection of self-preservation, ambition, or emotional necessity. Yet it's easy to overlook this reality and assume that someone will remain the same person they've always been, regardless of what life demands of them. That assumption often leads to shock and disappointment when they act in ways you never expected. In many cases, people's treatment of you is linked directly to what role you play in their life at the moment. If you fulfill a need, whether that's emotional support, financial help, validation, or companionship, they may seem warm, attentive, and loyal. But if their needs evolve, or they find that same fulfillment elsewhere, their connection to you may weaken or disappear. This shift can feel personal, but often it's simply a reflection of how relationships are tied to mutual benefit, whether openly acknowledged or not. Needs can change because of external factors like career shifts, new relationships, financial struggles, or personal growth. Someone who once leaned on you heavily may suddenly pull away when they no longer require your help, or when they find themselves in a different environment. Others may become distant not because they dislike you, but because their priorities no longer align with what you offer. This is why it's important to recognize that closeness is not always permanent. It can be situational depending on where people are in their lives. Even deep emotional bonds are not immune to this. A person who once shared everything with you might stop opening up when they no longer feel that same emotional need. They may form new connections that meet those needs differently, leaving you wondering what happened. It's rarely about one sudden event. It's about a gradual shift in what they seek and where they find it. By the time you notice the change, it has often been unfolding quietly for some time. This understanding should not make you cynical, but it should make you aware. When you accept that people's behavior toward you is often tied to their current needs, you stop expecting permanent consistency from everyone. Instead, you focus on identifying those rare individuals whose respect, care, and loyalty are not dependent on what you can provide them at any given moment. These are the people who remain steady even when their lives change, because their connection to you is built on deeper values rather than immediate gain. It's also important to notice how this truth applies in reverse. Your own needs change too, and this affects how you relate to others. You may outgrow certain friendships, move away from specific environments, or no longer rely on people you once considered essential to your well-being. This isn't necessarily a sign of betrayal. It's a natural part of growth. But just as you change, others do as well, and the balance of needs in a relationship can shift without either side intending harm. When people's needs shift, some will adapt the relationship to keep it strong, while others will let it fade. Observing which path they take tells you a lot about the foundation of your connection. If someone disappears the moment you are no longer useful to them, it reveals the true nature of their investment in you. On the other hand, if they remain present without gaining anything in return, you've likely found a rare and valuable bond. Understanding that people change when their needs change is not about building mistrust. It's about building resilience. You stop tying your self-worth to how others treat you, because you recognize that their behavior often has more to do with their own circumstances than with your value as a person. This awareness helps you navigate relationships with clearer eyes, appreciating loyalty when it is genuine and accepting change without clinging to what no longer exists. The truest measure of any relationship is revealed in moments of adversity. When life is smooth and circumstances are favorable, almost anyone can appear supportive, caring, and loyal. But when the situation turns difficult, when resources are scarce, reputations are at risk, or there is no benefit in standing by you, that is when the reality of a person's commitment becomes clear. Testing trust in adversity is not about creating challenges to see who will stay. It is about paying attention when life naturally puts that trust to the test. In difficult times, people cannot easily hide their true priorities. When there is nothing to gain from helping you, their actions are guided by values rather than convenience. Some will quietly disappear, offering excuses about being too busy, too overwhelmed, or unable to get involved. Others may shift their loyalty toward those who can give them more security or opportunity. These choices can be painful to witness, especially when they come from people you believed would never turn away. But adversity strips away the illusions created in times of comfort, showing you exactly who sees your worth even when you have nothing to offer but your presence. Trust that has never been tested is trust built on assumption. You may believe someone will be there for you because they have always been kind, attentive, and present. Yet those qualities in easy times do not necessarily translate into loyalty under pressure. A person who has only walked beside you in the sunlight may not be willing to follow you into the storm. This is why observation during hardships is so important. It reveals whether your connection is built on mutual respect and genuine care, or on convenience and circumstance. Testing trust in adversity does not always involve major crises. Sometimes it's as simple as needing help when you have nothing to give in return, or seeing how someone reacts when you face public criticism. Do they defend you in the moment or stay silent to avoid conflict? Do they check on you privately or vanish until the situation improves? Small acts in these moments speak louder than years of easy companionship, because they show whether a person is willing to share in your struggles or only your successes. There is also the matter of consistency. Some people may show up once in a difficult time but fail to maintain that support when challenges persist. True trust is proven through sustained presence, not just a single act of loyalty. Those who remain with you even when there is no resolution in sight are the ones whose trustworthiness is anchored in who they are, not in what they can gain from you. Adversity also reveals the strength of emotional support. There are those who may not have the means to fix your problems, but still offer encouragement, understanding, and a listening ear without judgment. This form of loyalty is just as important as practical help, because it shows that someone values you enough to share in your emotional burden even when they cannot change your circumstances. In contrast, people who withdraw emotionally during your hardest times often signal that their connection to you was conditional on your ability to remain strong and untroubled. Observing trust in adversity changes how you view relationships moving forward. Once you've seen who remains and who leaves, you start to invest more deeply in the bonds that prove themselves under pressure. You also learn to let go of those who only stood beside you when it was easy, understanding that their absence in hardship is a clear reflection of where their loyalty truly lies. This doesn't mean you close yourself off to new connections. It means you carry the wisdom of experience, choosing to build trust gradually and allowing life's natural challenges to reveal a person's true nature. Self-reliance is strength because it ensures that your stability, progress, and sense of self-worth are not dependent on the actions or approval of others. When you can depend on yourself to meet your needs, whether they are emotional, financial, or practical, you remove the power others might have to control or manipulate you. Relying too heavily on others creates a dangerous imbalance where your well-being is tied to someone else's mood, priorities, or willingness to help. But when you cultivate self-reliance, you build a foundation that no one can take away from you, regardless of who stays or leaves. Being self-reliant does not mean refusing help from others. It means you are capable of functioning without it. You accept assistance as a choice, not as a necessity for your survival. This independence changes the dynamic of every relationship because it removes the underlying pressure for others to carry you. It allows you to engage with people from a place of mutual respect instead of dependency, making your connections stronger and healthier. You are with people because you want to be, not because you need them to keep your life from falling apart. Self-reliance is built through competence. Every skill you learn, every problem you solve, and every challenge you overcome on your own adds to your confidence. Over time, you begin to trust yourself more than you trust the promises or capabilities of others. This internal trust becomes a source of calm during uncertain times because you know you can adapt, make decisions, and find solutions without waiting for someone else to step in. Even when you do lean on others for support, you do it from a position of strength rather than desperation. One of the most empowering aspects of self-reliance is the freedom it brings. You are not bound by fear of losing someone's help, approval, or resources. You can walk away from toxic situations without worrying that doing so will leave you helpless. This freedom allows you to set higher standards for how you are treated, because you are not trapped by dependency. People who sense that you are self-reliant are less likely to attempt to control you, because they know you can stand on your own. Relying on yourself also protects you from the instability of others. People's circumstances, moods, and priorities change, and if your security depends on them, your life will shift with theirs. One day they may be eager to support you. The next, they may be too consumed by their own challenges. Self-reliance acts as a stabilizer, ensuring that your progress is not interrupted every time someone else changes direction. You maintain control over your path regardless of external factors. Self-reliance is not built overnight. It comes from repeated experiences where you choose to solve your own problems, even when it's uncomfortable. It might mean learning to manage your finances without relying on someone else's income, handling emotional challenges without immediately seeking validation, or developing practical skills so you are not at the mercy of others' availability. Each time you choose independence over dependence, you strengthen your ability to face life's challenges with resilience. This mindset also shifts how you view help from others. Instead of seeing it as something you are entitled to, you view it as a gift. This appreciation deepens your gratitude and prevents resentment when people cannot give as much as you hope. Because you are not relying on their help to survive, you can accept their limits without feeling abandoned or betrayed. This removes unnecessary strain from relationships and keeps you from placing unrealistic expectations on others. When you are self-reliant, you carry an unshakable confidence that stays with you no matter where you are or who is around. You know that you are capable of sustaining yourself, making your own choices, and navigating challenges without collapsing under the weight of uncertainty. This inner strength becomes your greatest source of stability, allowing you to live life on your own terms and move forward without waiting for permission or rescue from anyone else. Popularity is seductive because it makes you feel validated. The more people who know your name, follow you, or praise you, the easier it is to believe you're surrounded by friends. But popularity is a performance, not a guarantee of loyalty. Many who stand near you when the spotlight is on will vanish when it dims. Crowds are loud in applause but silent when it comes to sacrifice. People are drawn to what you represent, what you provide, or what they can gain by being connected to you, not necessarily to you as a person. You might be admired, envied, or used as a stepping stone without even realizing it. Popularity can mask the truth because attention feels warm and reassuring, but that warmth is not the same as trust. When people like the image you project, they aren't always seeing the reality of who you are. The moment you can no longer offer what feeds their interest, their loyalty often fades. The same voices that once cheered for you can quickly become indifferent or even hostile if their needs are no longer met. Some will maintain proximity because it benefits their own status. Others will vanish at the first sign of trouble. Popularity is often transactional. People attach themselves to you because of what your position, reputation, or influence can do for them. This isn't always malicious. It's simply human nature to seek advantage, but it's a dangerous foundation for trust. True loyalty is revealed when you have nothing to offer but yourself, when you face loss instead of gain, when your status declines instead of rises. Popularity can also create a false sense of security. You might assume that because you have many acquaintances, you have a strong support system, but numbers don't equal depth. 100 shallow connections cannot replace one genuine bond. Popularity encourages you to focus outward, on maintaining your image, on pleasing the crowd, on feeding the network that keeps you in demand, rather than inward, on identifying who truly values you for you. It can blur your ability to see who is genuine because you become accustomed to constant praise and attention. In the noise of approval, it's harder to notice the silence of those who aren't truly invested. The real test of loyalty comes when you're at your lowest. Who shows up without being asked? Who stands beside you without expecting a reward? Who defends you when there's nothing in it for them? Those moments strip away illusions and reveal the truth behind the smiles. Popularity can also make you a target. The more visible you are, the more others will want to attach to you for personal gain, or tear you down to elevate themselves. Some will pretend to be allies only to collect information they can use later. Others will offer friendship as a way to gain access to your influence. In such an environment, discernment becomes essential. You must learn to separate the noise of approval from the quiet consistency of true loyalty. This requires observing behavior over time, especially when you are no longer in a position to benefit someone else. It means noticing who reaches out only when they need something versus those who check in simply to see if you're okay. Popularity might make you feel surrounded, but feeling surrounded is not the same as being supported. Popularity can be one of the most misleading illusions you will ever encounter. Being surrounded by people, receiving constant attention, or having your name spoken in circles does not automatically translate to genuine loyalty. Many confuse social presence with social support, but they are worlds apart. People are often drawn to success, charm, or the benefits that come from being associated with someone in the spotlight, yet when that light dims, so too does their presence. Popularity can attract both genuine and shallow connections, but without discernment, you risk mistaking opportunists for friends. When people cheer for you, ask yourself, are they cheering for you or for what you can offer them? That distinction changes everything. Those who flock to popular individuals often do so because of what they perceive they might gain. It could be status, access to opportunities, entertainment, or simply the comfort of being connected to someone others admire. Yet loyalty is tested not when the rewards are plentiful, but when they vanish. True friends will stand in your corner when you can offer them nothing but your presence. Fair weather friends, however, will quietly slip away when your popularity no longer benefits them. Popularity attracts numbers, but loyalty filters those numbers down to a rare few. One of the dangers of popularity is that it can create a false sense of security. When people constantly surround you, it's easy to believe that you are deeply valued and supported. This belief can blind you to the fact that much of this attention is conditional. The conditions might be your influence, your resources, your status, or even just your current mood. The moment those conditions change, people may withdraw without warning. Popularity can feel like a cushion, but it's often made of thin air, impressive until the moment it deflates. Another subtle risk is the way popularity can distort your ability to assess character. When many people express admiration, laugh at your jokes, or agree with your opinions, it becomes harder to identify who truly resonates with your values versus who is simply playing along to stay close. Constant validation can cloud your judgment, making it easier for manipulation to slip in unnoticed. Opportunists can mimic loyalty well when it serves their interests, but it is only through observing them in moments of challenge, disappointment, or conflict that you can see their true alignment. You must remember that loyalty is forged through shared trials, not shared celebrations. Anyone can stand with you during your victories. After all, victory is attractive, and many want to be associated with it. The real test comes when things go wrong, when your image is challenged, or when the benefits of being around you disappear. Who checks in then? Who speaks well of you when you are not in the room? Who defends your name when no one else is watching? Popularity doesn't answer these questions. Character does. Even in everyday life, popularity can be deceptive. Think of people who are socially magnetic, always invited, always liked, always photographed. But when they face a personal crisis, the crowd thins quickly. Often, only one or two remain consistent, and sometimes no one at all. This is because popularity draws people to the image you project, not necessarily the person you are. The image may be charming, inspiring, or enviable, but it is still a performance to some degree. Those who love the performance may not care much for the reality behind it. Popularity also carries the weight of expectation. When people are drawn to you for superficial reasons, they often expect you to maintain a certain version of yourself at all times. They want the entertainer, the achiever, the confident figure. The moment you show vulnerability, struggle, or imperfection, some will step back because you no longer match the ideal they wanted to attach themselves to. In this way, popularity can actually make authentic connection harder to achieve because you are constantly navigating the gap between people's expectations and your true self. The truth is, numbers don't equate to depth. You might have 100 people who say they care, but only 2 who will sacrifice their time, energy, or comfort for you when it matters. Popularity can amplify your voice, expand your influence, and open doors, but it cannot guarantee the presence of loyalty when the applause fades.